All right, this is pre-algebra lesson 5.2, fractions and decimals. You've done this before. Okay, here's the deal. Two different things. There's two different types of decimals. Okay, you have terminating decimals and you have repeating decimals. Okay, a terminating decimal is one that, what does terminating end? What does terminate mean? What does terminate mean?
It ends.
Ends. A terminating decimal ends. A repeating decimal does not. Let's do an example. 3/8. 3/8, here's the deal. This is a fraction, agreed? That's a fraction. How do I turn a fraction into a decimal? Do you know? What do we do? You divide. It's a fraction is another. A fraction is a division problem, right? So this is 3 divided by 8. So how do you write 3 divided by 8? Just go like this. 3 divided by 8. Is that how it goes?
No. Wait, yes. Yes,
wait.
it is.
No, wait. No.
Yes.
No.
Which one is it?
No.
Well, here, look here. I need you to look at something really quick. This is very important, so you can see this very quickly. Look, watch. You're watching. No talking. I don't want you to talk. I just want you to listen. Can you listen? We're listening. According to this, what am I going to do? I'm going to go. How many? I'm going to say. According to this, I'm going to say how many times is 3 going to 8?
2 times.
2 times. Now hold on. Let's look at this. That means that the answer is at least 2. Is 3/8 at least 2? No. 3/8 is less than 1. Do you understand what I'm saying? So you can look at that very quickly and go, wait a second. That cannot be it. Do you understand what I'm saying? Just look at that very quickly and go, wait a second. That is less than 1. But if I write it like this, the answer is going to be more than 2. Right? Because 3 goes into 8 2 times. So you can just quickly go, wait a second. No, this is how you write it. Whenever you have a fraction, you're going to write it. You write it from top to bottom. This is you write it like this. You write 3 divided by 8. Watch me again. I really want you to watch up here. This is 3 divided by 8. Agreed? You read from top to bottom. 3 divided by 8. So you write 3, and then you go divided by. That's how you do it. Divided by 8. Okay? You just got to remember that. That's something you just got to memorize. Okay. How many times does 8 go into 3?
0.
It does not, right? It does. It goes in 0 times. Put a decimal, add a decimal and a 0. 8 goes into 30 how many times? 3 times. 24, which is 6. Add a 0. We're not done because, listen, in the old days, you might have done remainders. We don't do that anymore. 8 goes into 60 how many times? 7. 8 times 7 is 56. Add another 0.
5.
Goes in 5, exactly 5 times. We aren't done. Here's the deal with decimals anymore. Division, these things is you're not done until there's a 0 down here, right? We're not done. Okay, so here's the deal. That is a terminating decimal because eventually we got done, right? This became a 0 and we're done. This is a terminating decimal because it's over. This is the exact answer, 0.375. Okay, makes sense? Terminating decimal. If I gave you this, if I said, what is 1 divided by 2? How do I write that as a decimal? 0.5. Let's do it the long way just so we can see. Is this how we do it? 1 divided by 2? Is that how we do that? No, because this would be 1 goes into 2 times. That's no good. So it goes 1 divided by 2. 2 goes into 1 no times. Put a decimal and a 0. Decimal. 2 goes into 5 times 10. And the reason why we're done is because that's a 0. Right? There it is. This is called a, what kind of a decimal? Terminating decimal. It's terminating because it has an end. Okay, let's do an easy one here. Let's do this. Let's go 2/3. 2/3, here's the deal. What is that? Anybody know what that is as a decimal? Do you know?
0.3 with a dash on
0.3, no.
0.6 with it.
Yeah.
0.6.
Right. Here's the deal. Let's do it. Let's do the actual problem. Let's look at it. 2 divided by 3. Do I write it like this? 2 divided by 3. Is that how we do it? No, it's the opposite, right? 2 divided by 3. 3 goes into 2 how many times? It does not. Decimal, 0. 3 goes into 20. 6 times. Add another 0. 20. Oh, you can see where we're just going to keep having 20s, right? It's just going to keep being a 20. You see the pattern? So it's going to end up being 0.66666666 forever. It will never end, right? No matter what I write here, no matter how many 6s, 0.0 or 0.6 666666666. Is that the exact answer? No, it keeps going. What if I wrote 1,000,000,000 times? Is that the exact answer? No, it never ends. It's called a repeating decimal. So how do we write a repeating decimal? With a part that repeats, it's the part that repeats. That's what do we do?
You put a dash over the top.
Yeah, a line over it. So it would be 0.6 with a line over the 6. Why the 6? Because the 6 is what repeats. Let me show you another one. Let's go 1/6. Okay, 1/6. Here we go. Do I write it like this? 1 divided by 6. It looks like it might be right. Is that how it goes? No. 1 divided by 6. 6 goes into 1? No times. Okay, it's 1 time with a 4. 0 over here. What, 6 goes into 40 how many times? 6 times. That's 36. That's a 4. Bring it down again. Oh man, 36. What do we have? We have another 4. It's going to keep going forever. What's going to keep repeating?
6.
The 6 is, right? So when I do this is very important. 0.16. Do I go like that?
No.
No, because what is that? What is repeating here if I did that? It would go 1/6, 1/6, 1/6, 1/6, right? That's not what I want. It's just the 6 that repeats. Either way, it's a repeating decimal. Make sense? Remember, anytime you see a repeating decimal, what do you know is true? That it can be written that this thing here can in fact be written as a fraction, right? We talked about that. If you see a repeating decimal, it means that it can be written as a fraction. Okay? That's for another lesson. So anyway, repeating, terminating decimals. Now, here's the deal. Let me look here. Right, that's no big deal. Ordering them. Okay, how do let's just say, I was going to allow you to do this in a very quick way. What would you do? How would you do 13/18? How would you find that as a decimal if you were going to do this very quickly? What would be the quickest and easiest way of writing that as a decimal? If I was going to allow you to do it. What was that? Use a calculator, right? Absolutely. Totally. You guys have calculators?
Yes.
Pull one up, pull it out. Write down, do 13/18. How do you do 13/18? How do you write this? How do you write this in a calculator?
13.
Is this 13 divided by 18 or is this 18 divided by 13?
13 divided by 18.
You read it from top to bottom.
13 divided by 18.
Right? Isn't that what it says? What is
7-2 repeating.
0.72, and then it goes 7272. Is that what it is?
No, it's 7-2-2-2-2-2.
Okay, 2, 2, 2, 2. Okay. So then, when you look at that on your calculator, how do you write this? You've done it on the calculator. What do you do? How do you write it, Gigi?
0.72 with a dash over the 2.
Over just the 2, right? Makes sense? Okay. Try this one. Try 25/99. Try 25/99. Sheena? What does it go? What is it? Tell me what it says on the calculator.
0.2525.
Okay, so then how do I write that as a decimal? Right, but that's because at the end of your calculator, what does it do? At the end of that thing, it rounds one of the last one up. That's no good. You have to ignore that. You have to recognize that that's what happened. Does that make sense? The calculator chose to round it up. Fine. So then you tell me, how do I write this as a decimal? Is this it? Is that the answer? Clearly no. How do I do it, Jade?
0.25.
Over what? The 5?
25.
Over both, the 2-5, because it repeats 2-5, 2-5, 2-5, 2-5, 2-5. Does that make sense? Okay. How then, if I was to give you something like this, if I was to say, okay, here is 1/4, 4/5, 7/10, and point, and 0.5. And I told you to order those from smallest to biggest. What would you do? How could you do this? What is the best way of doing this? I've got fractions and I've got decimals. What's the best way?
Find the same common
Well, there's no common denominator here. That's not even a fraction, so you can't find the common denominator there. I mean, you could turn that into a fraction and then find common denominators. I'll tell you right now, do you really want to find a common denominator for 4, 5, 10, and 2? No. So then, what would be the easiest way of doing this? If I allowed it, what would be the easiest way of doing this, Sheena? Change them all to decimals by using a calculator, right? So you turn you go 1 divided by 4 is 0.25. 4 divided by 5 is 0.8. 7 divided by 10 is 0.7. And this is 0.5. I'm now staring at 4 decimals. Can you now order them very easily?
Yes.
Because they're all decimals? Easily. It would be, now listen, this is how you write it though, pay attention to this. You do not write the order like this. If on your answer sheet you don't go 0.25, 0.5, 0.7, and 0.8, I would mark that wrong. Why?
Oh.
Why would I mark that wrong?
Because you have to add like a 0.
No. Why?
Because you have to write them.
You write the original things that were up here, right?
Um,
You write the originals. You don't write down what they're equal to. I'm asking you of these guys, which one's smallest, which one's next biggest. So then you have to write them like that. So you would say the order goes 1/4, 0.0, then you'd go 0.5, then you'd go 7/10, then you'd go 4/5. Does that make sense? That is how you would do it. But you find the answer by turning them all into decimals. Make sense? There's going to be some negatives there. You should be able to do that very easily. You should know, that a bigger negative is smaller, right? A bigger negative is smaller. Okay, one last thing. Here's a little trick. Do you know how you can write some? Well, let's go like this. Can you tell me what is 0.3 with a line over it as a fraction? It's kind of an easy one.
1/3.
It's 1/3, right? You see 1/3, got it? Okay, what about this? What about 0.5 with a line over it? Or this, what about 0.482 with a line over all three? Or even 0.483 with a line over it?
What?
They're very easy. You want me to tell you? So here's the rule. If you have a fraction where it's 0 point and then something, I mean anything, give me a number.
727.
727. If the whole thing has a line over it, here's what it is as a decimal. What would it be if that line wasn't there? Read it to me. What would this fraction be if that line wasn't there? If the line wasn't there, so imagine that the line wasn't there. What is this as a fraction? Jack?
727 over 1,000.
This is, well, if you just read it, it's 727 thousandths. Do you agree? Yeah. That's what it is as a fraction? Okay. When there's a line over it, it's 727 over 1 less than what it would have been had there been no line. So it would be 999. Okay. So then, let's look at this. 0.5 with a line over it. What would that be without the line? Read it.
Oh, 5 times.
5/10. It wouldn't be 5/10. It would be 5, what is 1 less than 10? 5/9. Let's see if that's true. Let's go 5 divided by 9. 9 goes into 5 how many times? 0. And 9 goes into 50 how many times?
5.
How many times?
5.
Right, do you see it now? It's going to keep going forever. So remember that. It's very simple. So I'm going to give you this. What about this? If I have 0.027 with a line over it, what is that? What is that equal to, Jane? 27/99. Right? What if it was 274 with a line over all of it? What would it be, Brad?
It would be.
What would it be without the line, Brad?
It would be.
not over 100. Read that to me. Read this to me, somebody. Amy, what does this say?
0.2
No, read this to me.
and like fraction.
Read this to me, Lauren.
274 over 1,000.
No, read this. I want you to read this to me. Would somebody please read this to me? Read this to me.
274,000.
274 thousandths.
Oh,
Right? Isn't that how you read this?
Yes.
Right. 274 thousandths. If there's a line over it, is it 274 thousandths?
No.
Now, what is it?
274,
999ths, right? The only thing that gets tricky about this is if I give you this. If I give you 36.036 like that, and I tell you to write that for me as a fraction, what is this as a fraction? What would it be?
36 over 90.
36 99ths. Agreed? Can it be reduced?
Yes.
Divide by 3, divide by 3. This becomes 12 over 33. Am I done? No. It would be 4/11ths. And that's how you do it. You still have to reduce it. Make sense? You still have to reduce it. Otherwise, that's it. Okay. The only other ones that, so know this, that you can't do that if it goes like this, 0.16 like that, or 0.164 like that. There's no rule to tell you what that is. The only way it works is if everything was covered. Make sense? No rule here.
So that would be one.
Nothing. There's just no way to write this as a fraction. At least not. There's no simple rule. What I'm telling you, this is not follow our rule. The only way it works is if they're all repeating. Yeah.
So they wouldn't ask that.
They wouldn't ask that. Okay. Your homework.
Can we use the calculator?
Yes. Oh, really quick then. What about this? What if I have this? 2 and 2.55. And I asked you to write that for me as a fraction. How do you go from a decimal to a fraction? It's so simple. How do you go from a decimal to a fraction? Yeah.
You just add.
You just, nope.
You look at the place.
Nope. Well, right, but just it's so much simpler than that. What is it? You simply
Right over.
no. What do you do? How do I write this? How do I turn that 2.55 into a fraction? You read it. You read it.
55.
You read it.
55 over.
Oh, this is 2 and 55
I
hundredths.
was gonna say you adding 100.
You just read it. You read it. Now, are you done? Would I take that?
No.
It can be reduced, but to turn any decimal, negative 21.48. How do I turn that into a fraction?
Read it.
You read it. It would be a negative 21 and 48 hundredths. I'm not done because that can be reduced, but that's what you do. Got it? To go from a fraction to a decimal, what do I do again? To go from a fraction to a decimal, I divide. Okay. As long as we're clear. Today is Tuesday, right? I have page 241 through 42 even.